You're welcome to this lecture. My name is Ssebuyungo Wilber Kivekayunga, a lecturer at Nkumba University and also the Managing Director of the Action Entrepreneurs. In this module, we are looking at business and its environment. I think that how can business actually be able to successfully work through its environment, and also being able to consider the environment in decision making for its success, and also for the welfare and the well-being of the environment in which the business is operating. This lecture is corresponding to the first one which we've held, and in this lecture we shall be focusing on some extra aspects of the business environment that you need to consider in decision making, in planning and implementation of decisions in your organization or your company, and as well as being able to review the business progress in the environment in which that business is operating. So we saw that business environment, we are not only looking at natural environment, we are looking at the surrounding of the business entirely, beginning right from the internal environment to the external environment. In our earlier lecture, we saw political environment and how politics actually affects our business decisions and our consideration of politics in decision making, and also being able to incorporate aspects of decision of politics within our enterprise decision making and planning. We also looked at the legal environment, where there are various laws that govern business that entrepreneurs, managers, directors and operators of business have got to be aware. For example, we saw that the company operates on the principles and the laws established in the country. For example, the Companies Act, the Employment Act, the Environment Regulatory Acts, the Human Rights Acts, and also the Domestic Tax Act, the regulatory acts which you need to actually be able to follow up, the Weights and Measurement Act, and other legal establishments in the country. There are also international environments, where we show the international community makes decisions that affects nations and the businesses on business operations, such as the UN, the United Nations, the European Union. You'll see the African Continental Free Trade Area, the East African Regional Bloc, and other blocks that we have. So businesses need to establish international relations and collaborations, and even those partnerships, considering the international environment surrounding them. We also saw culture as being very central, and that businesses have got to make decisions considering the culture of the community, the culture of the employees and customers and their preferences. So this culture will shape the tastes and preferences, shapes, color, quality and quantities required in the state. For example, if you were to sell food to Kenyans, and there is their quality of the unga, or what is called flour from maize. So and even some foodstuffs such as malakwang have some taste preferences required in Uganda. Foodstuffs such as matoke in the restaurant, if you're setting up a restaurant and matoke is not there, or you're really you have deviated much. So culture, the details of that you will see in our previous lecture. The natural environment, we also saw the natural environment such as protection, conservation, preservation, and the management of the natural environment, involving climatic change management, and also making sure that your business does not affect, again spoil or destroy the environment, but instead uses the resources in the environment without depleting them or without affecting the ecosystem, the environmental ecosystem we have. So in this lecture, we're going to look at the technological environment, the other environments, the political, legal, international, cultural, and natural environments were shared with you in the previous lecture. But now here we are going to concentrate on technological environment. In technological environment, when we talk about technology, we are not only talking about machines, machinery, and equipment. We are actually talking about the origin of technology. So the word technology comes from the word technique, which means a style of organized ideas assembled, where ideas are assembled or organized, one connecting to another to form a complete system that can help us to function well, or to work well, or to work effectively and efficiently. So these ideas are the ones we now come up with, organize them, and then now we can transform these ideas into software, into machines, and the equipment. So that's this all technology is beginning from a person bearing an idea and is creative about it, and also innovative and inventful. The person is inventful, creative, and innovative. So organizations are laboring to create ways of how to thrive in the world of technology, because other organizations are coming up with technology that enables them to reach out to a larger number of customers, and also enabling them to relieve them from investing a lot of efforts to come up with outcomes and results, relieving them from having to incur costs. You saw recently that telecom was struggling to and investing a lot, much more money in ensuring that airtime scratch cards are distributed countrywide. Until recently, that the advent of mobile money and digital cash transfers and cash movements were adopted within the telecom operations, to make sure that scratch cards are replaced with mobile money, airtime bought from mobile money, other than having to move the physical scratch cards to various distributors and agents. That reduced the cost of moving airtime scratch cards. It also reduced the environmental effect of scratch cards on the natural environment, and also reduced management costs involved in the distribution process, and also other attacks where people would try to try to create their own codes to make sure that they cheat telecom, and by simply creating some codes to access airtime. So all those were relieved. But as technology keeps on coming up, and people creating ways of making life a little simpler, you see that even if it is airtime and money is moving by mobile money, for example, then it also calls for some cyber technology and cyber security. Recently, telecom was invaded by thugs, and they hacked into systems and withdrew money in billions of shillings, in millions of dollars from here in Uganda, and Before they knew it, people's mobile money accounts were being emptied, and the mobile money agents were being fleeced, and their accounts were hacked into, and transfers were illegally made from their accounts, emptying them. So technology now had to be innovated, because as you develop technology home-based within your company, even the crooks are out there making counter technology to to be able to take advantage of the gaps within the technology that you have. So what you do is to make sure that you tighten the security and the data protection of your company, and and be able to thrive through the world of technological advancement. Recently, we saw issues where the Uganda Revenue Authority accounts were being hacked by some people, and they were making payments in systems, in the URS systems for clients. So before they knew it, someone was out there with a computer hacking into the system and clearing taxpayers as though they had made payment on the account, but by just entering into the transactional softwares and manipulating them. Banks are also using mobile banking. You can see that they are having apps, mobile apps, and agents with mobile and with the digital banking are distributed everywhere, that with an ATM card you don't need to have a long queue to withdraw money or to bank. You can bank it nearby. So even managers of big stores, big stocks in supermarkets and industries are managing stock through software, and there are QuickBooks software for multi-store that can handle various stores in one place, in a centralized place, but you can know what item, what inventory is in what store, which one is depleting faster than the other, and you can set reorder quantities at different stores, and integrate them and make orders without necessarily moving to those remote stores. You can manage customers digitally by moving by checking which items they are opting for, and they can also make orders electronically without having to leave their places of work. And all this technology swifting, making communication a little swifter, and causing a paradigm shift from situations where companies had to keep moving and reaching out to their customers wherever they were. Now customers can access services of your company without having to move physically, without having to move physically. So technology is relieving companies with the efforts, reducing energy and the investments, but making sure that there is efficiency and effectiveness. You saw recently that companies had to hire people to carry sugar from one unit to another, and then had to lift bags to be measured. But now this is being handled by a machine. There are machines that are moving the bags. You don't no longer need people to carry bags. There are machines that are actually measuring the bags, and there are machines that are actually sealing bags. Even if it comes to bottles, those they are rollers, others are using uh, um, uh, the conveyor belt system to make sure that production is efficient. So the world of technology is increasingly getting wider, that even as we speak, the world is looking at making sure that there is elimination of carbon emissions. So the electric vehicles produced in the market, and the others are actually using fuel, and the other side are also rechargeable. So the two are running together, and the time will come where we have electric vehicles, electric machines, other than having fuel machines. We saw recently again that as the world is running towards making sure that machines and vehicles should become actually electrified. We saw recently that Total, a petroleum company, is negotiating with the Uganda Electricity Generation Company Limited to take over production of generation of electricity in all the dams in the country, because the time is coming that technology is swinging and sweeping out all the fueling stations to become actually charging stations. So if you are not in charge of electricity, then the fuel stations will now no longer be in existence. So we have seen that happening in some countries already, and there is already designed agenda by the United Nations and the European Union, and other countries have also joined hands, such as China, to eliminate carbon emissions and make sure that there is electrification of machines. So technology is running at a higher speed, and we are seeing recently the invasions of digitization and AI, artificial intelligence, that now are organizations that want their customers to learn about what they are doing. They are developing what they are calling generative AI. This generative AI that they embed their chatbots on their websites and apps in the apps, that a customer can ask, "What are you doing?" Then the generative AI gives the customer what you do. Do you have this in stock? Generative AI goes and checks on your system and it sees whether the stock is still available, and gives feedback to customer that that stock is there and there are 17 items remaining. Then the ones that you have sold off, it tells the customer that that is out of stock, but again gives the customer the time when you restock. Generative AI is able to do that. So even in education, you see generative AI being embedded in the e-learning systems and the environments of schools, that students no longer need to read 200 pages and learn only from 5 pages. So they can ask generative AI to tell them what is in the pages, and then they are informed of what is in between those pages, so they get informed of what is in the book, other than investing all time, all effort to read everything in the book, but only learn from 10 pages. So technology is running a little faster, and organizations have got to make sure that they adopt this technology or create their own technology. You can adopt or create technology. You can also do benchmarking. We've seen companies which do not even have stock but are selling stock. through digital marketing and software. So even big companies in the world, you see Amazon, those companies are selling their products everywhere in the world, but are not setting up branches anywhere. So physical presence is being replaced by virtual presence into communities. And the universities which were big in infrastructure, physical infrastructure, the biggest universities we have in the world are in small buildings but having a very larger enrollment of students, because they can access those students anywhere in the world and teach them anywhere in the world, assess them anywhere in the world, and even award them with the authentic degrees. So if you keep behind technology, you saw how Nokia was hit by the changes in technology, that it took long to advance, that it had to sell itself uh, to, 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 to Microsoft after the evolution of smartphones, and they were still using physically placed button phones, and they were still producing those on the market and trading them. So they remained with a very small niche of their market, which would not actually help them to enable them to break even. So technology had gone beyond them. You saw companies such as Kodak, if, a camera producing company, which was producing still cameras. And when the world now shifted to digital cameras, which did not need to have those black films to snap and scroll, and people were using now touch screen and digital screens, cameras. So Kodak was hit hard from the market, almost fell out, and actually it has crippled and is no longer sounding in the market. But you see Nikon, cameras are sounding on the market, and even other camera producers such as Canon are still afloat on the market, because every time they are looking at how do we improve our services and make sure that we actually remain afloat in the market. So someone can place a camera somewhere but control it remotely when is a distance away from it, and can take pictures. Others are using drones, and all those were not there in 20 years back or 30 years. Now imagine what is going to be happening 20 years from now. So companies have got to reshape their decisions and reshape their operations to see that they remain afloat. Meetings which were physical are now digital. People can have board meetings when they have not moved from one country to another. So if you don't shift, technology will hit you off the line of productivity and the line of influence. So decisions have got to be made out there, and the technology has got to be created and adopted. The other aspect is the aspect of economic environment. Remember that economy is a combination of what people do and what they gain from what they do, and how they use the resources they have gained from what they are doing, and that's management. So economy is more about work excellently, invest carefully, consume sparingly, and be able to sustain the scarce resources and the resources that you have been able to get. So it means that in the world of work, you're looking at attracting workers who can be excellent and are up to date with the running standards of the economy and what is demanded within your company. And the investment is guided now by the investment environment. Is the environment really, is the community really favorable? What incentives are there? Can we really get access to funding if we want to capitalize our company? Are the banks ready to fund our projects or fund our investment plans? Okay, at what rate, at what interest rate are they actually going to lend us money if we are to get loans from the banks? So if the banking rates are high, interest rates are high, and the decisions taken by Bank of Uganda, the regulatory framework of Bank of Uganda to regulate cash and the cash value and the monetary value and the central bank rate is that has been set high, then it has an effect on your business. So each day the investors are looking at what is happening in the world of economy, what rates are there, the interest rates, and how much are the banks willing to actually lend us. If we needed the 500 million shillings or we needed 4 billion shillings, can we really have that money from our banks? Or can we ride on, for example, in Uganda, can we ride on the Uganda Development Bank? Or can we really have UDC funding us? Okay. Or can we have an international bank? Can we get a grant from the government to recapitalize our institution? We recently saw how it was banning in in the parliament, where members were against the recapitalization of the government recapitalizing recapitalizing a construction company called Loco Construction, which had won favor from government to be able to get some billions of shillings to recapitalize it. So, are there some possibilities where our company can actually take advantage of the investment incentives that are there in the economy? So what is the inflation? What are the inflation levels? And the people are monitoring inflation in the community. Dollar rates going high and also dollar rates going low. Fuel prices increasing, affecting your business operations. Taxes, new taxes emerging in the economy. We saw recently where the traders were demonstrating against the IFRIS, the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing system imposed by URA, to the extent that they were calling it, they met the president, who later on did not buy the idea of lifting the IFRIS system in collecting taxes. So the Uganda Revenue Authority, sometimes you see it is actually taking over people's accounts and paying it off through a third-party agencies, affecting business operations. So your business has got to be aware of what is actually happening in the economy, to see whether you can take advantage of the incentives in the economy, but also take refuge to set strategies to counter effects of the economy that can result into either increasing your prices beyond what you can, but taking advantage of economic studies and the research about what is happening in that economy, or even in the country where you're going to establish your business, and you see whether there are some strengths and weaknesses within the economy, study them, and strategically plan to remain afloat. Otherwise, when you're blind about what is happening in the economy, you may not take advantage of those particular incentives, and also to overcome competition, because the economy has several businesses operating as well, and operating possibly within your line of production, your line of trade, and you're sharing. You have a market share, so you have to keep expanding your market share through overcoming some of the challenges that your customers are facing, and that the challenges that your competitors are facing are the solutions that you've created, so that the market is drawn to you. So what reason do we have that keeps the customers migrating elsewhere and finding your organization as a place of relief? Have you studied those alternatives and embedded them in your product pricing and the quality of the product, and also in your outreaches and distribution network created? So if economy has not been studied, then you end up setting even prices of your goods to levels which the market cannot afford, because you do not know your target clients, and then you don't know the potential of your customers, and then you are not also accessing the potential customers. I know of a school that changed the fees from 600 to 1 million, and the community reacted by withdrawing students from this school until the school closed. It had the infrastructure, they were not renting, but they could not afford to remain afloat with 27 learners in a school which was accommodating 426 learners. So as you make decisions internally, just know that you are not in heaven or on Mars where there are no people. You are making a decision in a community of economics. Yeah, you have to be very calculative and considerate of the economic status of your community. We are also looking at the other aspect of religious environment. Religion is really very, very key, and you cannot say that your company is a secular company or a secular organization. So it does not take care of religious affairs. And even in stocking, you will see that businesses that have done studies and have assessed the clientele in which they are, and the community is maybe is Islamic, in districts in Uganda such as Butambala, Gomba, those districts where Islam is very dominant. If you go and set up some businesses that are not in line with the religious values of their people, that business will collapse within a very few minutes or days of its starting. So religious values are very key, and that some of the products you're stocking should be considering the religious inclination of people, even the services and the communication messages are very key in making sure that you have a catchment of people's religious values. The Catholic community has its own values, and if they go to a restaurant which does not actually respect their values, they can tend to withdraw. Or even if it is a school or a hospital where they are not receiving services closely related to the values they treasure, they tend to go elsewhere. They will get those services. Even when it comes to staffing, yes, some businesses have got a system of staffing with a blend of religious inclinations, so that if it comes to a day like Saturday, the Adventist people will not come to, will not, if they are employees, they will not work. Yet if you want your hotel to operate 24 hours, it also means that you've got to have some either Muslims to work on Saturday, and they have some other religious people, employees in other religion that can work on such a day. If you employ people without putting into perspective those dynamics, the religious dynamics, possibly you may not be able to manage the enterprise squarely and effectively, or even making decisions. So those are very key. We are going to close with the social environment. So when it comes to social environment, your business has neighbors, your business has people it has to relate with. So social environment entails working with one another and sharing resources to be able to operate well. So if your business is really your organization is making music at the very high end, making noise, so it is music to the business, but again it is noise and pollution to the neighbors. So you end up seeing that the community can react against the business. If you have a machine that is making too much noise, the community can say this is not what we need, unless you build a very strong wall, or you even cushion and insulate the walls to absorb the noise, then you will not be in good terms with the social community. So we even see that if your company is emptying oils and the garbage to the neighborhood, then you will really be affecting them. You saw the place is so stinking, and the neighbors are really complaining and regretting why such a business was extended near to their places of residence or their places of business. So your business has got to be very sensitive with the social attachment, to the extent that even when it comes to service providers, your company, your organization needs to have some service providers from the community, not to keep importing or goods from very far distances, which goods are actually being provided by the community members. And if they are organized and they are well guided, they can actually comply with the procurement policy of your organization. Even when it comes to staffing, some of the staff whom you employ and are not coming from the community will not be in good terms with your company. The community would need to see that if it is Movit and dealing with petroleum products and cosmetics, then some of the packers, those involved in management, are coming from the communities within, or otherwise, if you set up a business in like that, and most of the workers from other countries, then the communities like this company is just draining us. We are not gaining anything from it. The community itself can go against the company, and even some companies are set on fire, can be set on fire through community dissatisfactions on how those companies are managing their affairs. You see companies that are not paying workers. The workers can get disgruntled or mistreatment within the company. The social environment is not favorable. Workers can sue the company, they can talk ill about the company, malinformation about the company in the communities. So the organization has got to be monitoring the social environment and attachment. The social environment is not only about neighbors and the workers or suppliers, but also relationship between the company and other companies. So you need to have build partnerships with other organizations where you have contracts with other organizations to provide services to your organization. Those collaborations are very key, but also what we call community or community engagement and public relations. When it comes, for example, you have the community has events, whether they are parties or they are funerals, and your organization is not minding about it. You just continue producing. You don't send a representative to go and communicate a message there, or even pay tribute or condolences, or even some contributions, and you're not concerned. Then the community can sense that your firm or company or that organization is existing in the community, but is not for the community, because it is not relating well with the community. We've found that some companies struggle because they are not relating well with the community, and they have not built a strong attachment and bond, a strong bond with the community. So as resources are flowing from the community, because the community is where you are selling your products or services. So the products and services are coming from your community, from your company, and are received by the community. And then the community receives and then pays back, cash flows back to your company. So that means that financial resources flow from the community, from the social environment back to the company, as products also flow from company back to the community. But also some products such as raw materials and labor are flowing from the community to the company, to the farm. So you are having what we call a mutual existence between your organization and the community and the social attachment. That's why you'll see that the companies are having what we call corporate social responsibility. There are people in the community who cannot afford food, but your company can afford. So for that crisis, your company goes ahead to buy food for those who are in drought and famine, some students cannot afford tuition and or school fees, those learners, you set up a scholarship within the organization to support them, because later on those communities are the ones who have actually bought the machines by you making some money from selling products to them. So actually it is generosity flowing back to compensate and appreciate that the community is actually doing well. So recently we saw there is a lady who a woman who has been driving a dilapidated car, very worn out, with fruits and a baby, driving with a baby. And the number, the vehicle didn't even have a number plate. It was some of it was even just fixed with ropes. So we saw recently where someone went and interviewed this lady that she was fending for the family, and MTN came up and donated a new pickup with a new pickup to the lady called the night some other name, Mumpaire, some name like that, Ampaire. So and that was a corporate social responsibility extended to the community. So the company has got to build a social bond with the community, knowing that these social relations are key in the development of the institution, but also the company has got to contribute to the development of the community as well. During COVID-19, we saw there was a call for vehicles to facilitate the movement of doctors and the patients, and the companies came up and donated the vehicles and the food and even funding for buying vaccines. So and this extension was, yes, helping one the government but also the community, because if people stayed indoor and yes, they tend to stop consuming some products, and yet you're selling those products to them, and they are no longer interested in some services. Or if someone has got sick and is in the hospital, stops going to the hotel. So if that person is not in the hospital, then we'll go to places of recreation, we'll go to the hospital, we'll be in the car moving and going from workplace to workplace, but has been withdrawn from the from the economy. So entities have got to make sure that people are healthy but are also developing. That's why some companies have training programs, skilling the youth, women entrepreneurs, driving inclusiveness and the equity for people with disabilities, also to make sure that they get they participate in the economy, and are employing, some companies are employing people with disabilities, and that is growing in the community where people were being neglected. Some companies are saying no, these people can do well, they just need to be empowered. Let us empower them, include them in the work, in the workplace. They will do well, and they have done it, and some companies have done it, and it has worked and is working. So in social provisions, that is very key, and your company has got to actually be able to streamline these social relations, and also being considerate with social well-being of the external members of the community, but also the social well-being of the internal members, with the staff, offering them leaves inside there, allowing them to have social celebrations, recreation, recreation and leisure services within the organization, so that the organization does not again become harsh for the well-being of the people and the community. Indeed, some organizations are allowing communities to use their facilities as playgrounds, as meeting centers, uh, as places of having parties and seminars, vaccination centers. Some some have water and they distribute this water to the community. Community can tap water from your sources. You can share solar resources and energy, which you're not using. You're building their road and shaping it up or watering it when your trucks have actually dusted it. So all those considerations are very key. I would like to close this lecture, and my name is Ssebuyungo Wilber Kivekayunga. I'm the director, the national director of the National Enterprise Program, and I work with Nkumba University. I'm a lecturer of foundational courses, courses of entrepreneurship and management, but also we not only teach this, but I also do business. I'm the director and the founding director of the Action Entrepreneurs, which does business planning and management, international development, green transition, and education developments, and consultancy services. We extend consultancy services to organizations and in the private sector and the public sector. My numbers are displayed out there: 0704 054977. That one is on WhatsApp, and 0788054977. And also you can email, you can send an email on actionkayunga@gmail.com. If you are with Nkumba University, you can use about Nkumba University, you can use wsebuyungo@nkumbauniversity.ac.ug, and or you can also use Kivekayunga@gmail.com for action entrepreneurs and reaching me personally, not necessarily for company affairs. So thank you. We shall link up in our other lecture. We shall look at business ethics as well for business development. We shall look at ethics in business and principles that run businesses to sustain them and cause development in communities and in countries, even in national and international communities. Thank you. Have a good time. Whoa.